Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As the days wore on, years turned to decades, and decades changed to centuries, until a millennium had passed in this manner. Allah continued to send ulama to this world as guides, with every era having someone that just stood out amongst others as being extra special. At this late stage in Islamic history, with more than 1,000 years having passed since the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this ummah was still able to produce ulama that were giants amongst men and who became a household name for many Muslims. The place is Damascus, in the year 1198 after Hijrah, merely 2 years short of 1,200 years having passed since the Hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And a boy is born into a well-known, prestigious and noble family, a family of ulama, a family of sayyids. This boy's name was Imam Muhammad Amin ibn Umar ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Ahmad ibn Abdul Rahim ibn Muhammad Salahuddin al-Dimashqi Rahimahullaah, who is famously known as Imam ibn Aabideen Ash-Shaami Rahimahullaah. The lineage of Imam ibn Aabideen Ash-Shaami Rahimahullah is replete with greatness and nobility, beginning with the fact that he is from the offspring of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Hadrat Hussein radiyallahu anhu. The son of Hadrat Hussein radiyallahu anhu was Imam Ali Zainul Aabideen Rahimahullah. His name was actually just Ali, but it was on account of his exemplary ibadah that it earned him the title of Zainul Aabideen. And it is because of this that many years down the line, Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah's great-great-grandfather, Imam Muhammad Salahuddin Rahimahullah, he was given the title of Ibn Aabideen on account of his piety, likening him in this way to his forefather, Imam Zainul Aabideen Rahimahullah. After he received this title, it stuck with the family, and it is from here that Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah came to be so well known by this title. In the Indo-Pak subcontinent, Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah is known by another, much shorter title. He is known simply as Ash-Shaami. Sham had produced countless ulama, but so great and famous was Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah that when the word Shaami is used unrestrictedly, then it only refers to Imam Muhammad Amin Ibn Aabideen Ash-Shaami Rahimahullah. His most famous kitab called Raddul Muhtaar went the same route, with it first being known as Fatawa Shamia. But today, it's not uncommon to find even the kitab also being called Shami. Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah had begun his studies at a young age under Imam Sa'id al-Hamawi Rahimahullah, studying first the Shafi'i madhab, as that was the madhab of Imam al-Hamawi Rahimahullah. So for a period of time, Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was actually a Shafi'i before becoming a Hanafi later on. The method of study which Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah had done was similar to that of the ulama of the past, where a person would spend years with an imam until he passes away and then move on to the next one and the next and the next in this manner. Despite his young age and being in his early years of study, the greatness of Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah had already begun to show itself from this early time. This is understood from an incident that had transpired while Imam Ibn Aabideen and his teacher were traveling somewhere. It was during the time when Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was traveling with his teacher, Imam Shakir al-Aqad Rahimahullah. It was this Imam al-Aqad Rahimahullah that caused Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah to become a Hanafi. And it was when they happened to meet a visiting alim from India who told Imam al-Aqad Rahimahullah about the nur that he saw in Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah. And he said that a time will come when people from all over the lands would benefit from the virtue and the effort of Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah. And this definitely came to pass, to the extent that there is hardly anyone that hasn't heard of Imam Ibn Aabideen Ash-Shaami Rahimahullah. But even amongst those that may perhaps not have heard of him, they still cannot get away from the fact that the fiqhi rulings that people use in their daily lives today, much of it comes through Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah. A person sometimes loses sight of just how great these ulama were, and that leads people to underestimate the efforts that they made for the deen. If a person takes Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah, he was a prolific writer that had authored over 50 kitabs. That itself is a great thing. But more than that, is that Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah actually began writing from the age of only 17 years old while he was still studying. Even though we say studying, a person should never mistake it for a student who knows nothing and was taking chances. Far from it, because it was upon the insistence of Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah's teachers that he wrote those books in the first place under their supervision. And whenever they would go through what he had written, they would be astounded at the great depth of knowledge that Allah had given him. And they could do this because even during class, the brilliance of Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah shone like the sun. And Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was always held in such high regard by all of his teachers that it is mentioned regarding his teacher Imam Sa'id al-Halabi Rahimahullah that on the occasion, if Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was running late for class, then Imam al-Halabi Rahimahullah would not begin the class until Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was present. That's how highly his input was even as a student. Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah was described as having physically and spiritually all the best qualities because he was tall, handsome and well built, while being kind and soft-natured and always cheerful. But at the same time, his presence also drew awe and respect, as he was always dignified and conducted himself with decorum, besides the fact that he was highly knowledgeable and wise from a young age. Being who he was, it was inevitable that Imam Ibn Aabideen Ash-Shaami Rahimahullah would be appointed as a mufti, or at least the mufti of Damascus. And he went from being the mufti of Damascus to becoming the mufti of his age and the imam of all the Hanafis of his time. Imam Ibn Aabideen Rahimahullah passed away in Damascus in the year 1252 after Hijrah at the young age of only 54 years old, and he was buried in Maqbara Babi Saghir, which is the graveyard in which Sahaba radiyallahu anhum like Hazrat Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, Hazrat Bilal ibn Rabah and Hazrat Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu anhum are all buried, amongst many other notables. May Allah grant them the highest levels of Jannatul Firdaus and enter us into their company in the year after. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.